Hello, Raptors family. Welcome
How's
to
it going, man?
the It's a Raptors Ting podcast. This is our special NBA All-Star Weekend in Review special edition. It's your host who knows the most, the Scholar Baller. And
To Jerome Benson.
all right. Thank you. So Jerome, we finally reached that time of the year,
Yeah,
NBA All-Star Weekend 2024. We saw a lot. The Raptors fan base, they saw a lot. The NBA fan base as a whole saw a lot. Crazy discourse right now going on social media, whether it be Twitter, Instagram, wherever you get your social media feed for NBA news. Um, and yeah, a lot of the discontent around the All-Star game is alive and well. And we'll definitely get to that a little later. But we're gonna start with sort of the first component that we want to review here. And the first component of All-Star Weekend we'd like to review is the NBA skills competition. It's that competition that's usually reserved for players to show off their various guard skills. So ball handling, dribbling, passing, those kinds of things. So Jerome, what are some of your thoughts about the NBA skills competition?
I think Tyrese Halliburton is a definite All-Star. I think he's definitely, well, sorry, my apologies, a future superstar. This guy, I thought he was amazing. I thought Mathurin too, who was a Canadian as well. I thought he was really good too. I thought
Hmm.
those guys, they definitely shined for that skills competition. They shined at home. I thought Damian Lillard, this entire weekend has just been his. you know, I mean, we'll talk more about him, but my God, that guy, it, he's like the Stephen Curry of the East right now, man. I mean,
Hmm.
his 3-point range is just insane, man. It's just insane. I honestly, I was watching, I'm just like, God damn, that is some damn good range.
Yeah, definitely. I I was actually like a little bit, I felt a little bit disappointed in the NBA skills competition just because I felt as though how there were three teams, there was the NBA All-Stars, and then there was the NBA number one picks team, and then there was Team
Yeah.
Pacers. And I just felt like the only team that really came out to ball, to your point, was Team Pacers. The other teams were just doing a whole bunch of mess. I mean, the NBA literally puts in millions of dollars to have this fancy, fancy pantsy lit up court with arrows showing what direction to go in. And
Yeah. Right.
twice you had
Right.
players like going in the wrong direction. So it's a little
Mm.
disappointing to see.
Yeah, I thought Barnes was a
Um,
little disappointing, unfortunately. As much as I love him, he was a little bit,
yeah.
he was a little bit off. You know.
Hmm. Yeah, he did have that one play where I think he dribbled the ball off of his foot during the skills competition. I just saw that and laughed. I was like, oh boy. And that's why, like, he's not our point guard. He's he's our, well, at this point he's our power forward, albeit
So that's
reluctantly.
small, like point
Yeah.
forward kind of.
Yeah. Like but at the beginning of the season though, he was playing a three,
Mm.
and he was playing more of a point forward role, but now he's kind of had to be in that power forward role for us, which is quite
Interesting.
quite the disturbance.
Yeah. Yeah. Definitely. I definitely agree. But more about the All Star. Yeah, I thought it was all right. Away from like those guys doing really good. Um, I definitely liked seeing Stephen Curry versus Sabrina Ionescu. I thought that was kind of interesting. I'm surprised Ionescu did a little better than I thought. She did a lot better, actually.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
She definitely set the bar really high. Um,
yeah,
and that was just one of those situations where I knew that as a result of her going first, she was going to set the tone, she was going to set the pace, and I believe she had 26, like, and
yeah.
26, even when thinking
Curry at
of the,
29. Sorry,
yeah,
Curry at
even
29. My bad.
yeah, yeah, and even when thinking of the sort of the score there with the 3-point competition. A lot of players in the 3-point competition were getting like 26 on the nose, right? So the fact that she got 26 to set the bar high, and then Steph Curry came out, did what he did, and finished with 29. That was pretty
Yeah,
impressive.
I thought that was
Um,
amazing. I'm surprised how good she
yeah,
did. Kudos.
yeah, yeah, yeah. And
One thing one thing I didn't like though, I thought Kenny Smith was a little rude when he kind of said like she should have shot from the women's line. You
oh
know what I
yeah,
mean?
I agree.
Yeah, that
Yeah.
was. I thought that was a little bit down. Reggie Miller tried to like kind of like play him down, but I
Hmm. Hmm.
I don't know. Like let this sink in. If she had played in the 3-point contest, she would have tied Damian Lillard, the eventual
Hmm.
winner. So that says something.
Hmm.
And I know that the
Yeah.
WNBA definitely gets a lot of heat here, a lot of like a lot of laughs and a lot of jokes on YouTube, which sometimes like highlights, you can't always look at highlights. You got to look at the actual game. The WNBA definitely needs some improvement, but sometimes like some YouTube videos do kind of like show the WNBA in a little bit of a negative light. You know
Hmm. Yeah,
that,
no,
that that's just my opinion personally. I'm not saying like
yeah,
I always watch WNBA, but I'm just saying like sometimes they are a bit too negative.
yeah,
And
no, that's just,
I think Ionescu proved that.
yeah, I definitely believe that, Kenny Smith's comments, he was definitely saying a little too much, just because the end of the day, you know, it's almost as though he's forgetting that there are grown men in the NBA who struggle to shoot from that distance.
Ben
So to say
Simmons.
the Yeah, so to say that, what he said, I do believe that there is some degree of sexism woven into those comments there, because it's like, why did you feel the need to add that y- into your
Yeah,
commentary, and then you're trying to present it as though it's some sort of insightful take, but it's not really an insightful take. It's just a take that's not germane to, the level of talent and accuracy that you just witnessed. So
exactly.
to your point, like, I did find it quite disrespectful for
Yeah,
Kenny
especially
Smith
considering
to.
the fact she did pretty well too. I mean,
Hmm. Hmm.
29-26. It's not really a blowout, right? I mean, it's three
Hmm.
points. It's not much, right?
Exactly. So his comments were definitely off kilter,
Yeah,
and very tone deaf. I would concur with your points there. But speaking of the 3-point shooting competition, I think with the 3-point competition, I think that was the greatest part of All-Star Weekend in general. So, like, of course, the Sabrina Ionescu and Steph Curry shootout, like, that was cool. To me, that was like the second best event, but the best event overall, I would say, was the 3-point shootout competition. What are some of your thoughts on that?
Damian Lillard is a baller. That's all I'm gonna say. He is a baller, a 3-point baller. You know, that's all I gotta say. You know, he definitely he's damn good. You know, um, Yeah, I'd say Trey Young too. Definitely kind of, and surprisingly, Karl Anthony Towns actually did quite well this All Star weekend. He was on fire, man. He looked
Hmm.
like a legitimate. He looks like he's found
Hmm.
himself this season, man. With the Timberwolves, him,
Hmm.
Anthony Edwards, they're looking pretty good,
Yeah, no, I
Yeah,
definitely agree with you there.
yeah. Young and Towns are pretty good, but I gotta hand it to Lillard, man. He's just Jesus, man.
Yeah, like I do think though, um, I don't really like with Damian Lillard. I kind of look at Damian Lillard right now, right? If I was to judge Damian Lillard, my takeaway would be that Damian Lillard is he's the open shot king, you know? Like he's good at hitting a lot of open shots right now.
Hmm. I
And
mean,
if
remember in 2019 though, he did get that shot over Paul George though,
yeah, I mean, that was like if 5 years ago in counting, but
Yeah,
yeah, like you could definitely go back to his career and see some good shots, but nonetheless, like as things currently stand, if I was a Milwaukee Bucks fan, like I'd be like slightly salty about that because I just feel like, okay, you're hitting shots in the All-Star game, you're hitting shots in the three-point competition, but when we need you to hit shots for the Bucks to get wins, like you're not really doing that right at the level that the team requires of you. Now, granted, I will add in the caveat that you have the second portion of the season,
yes.
and this could be somewhat indicative, erring on the side of optimism. This could be somewhat indicative of a turnaround so that he starts to uh, perform offensively at a much higher level than he currently is. I've sort of given up on the idea of him performing defensively. I feel like it's firmly established that he's not really a defensive guy. But in order
Yeah.
for the Bucks to make some noise, uh, the offensive production from Damian Lillard is really going to have to improve a whole lot, you know?
Yeah, I definitely agree with that, but I think one thing we'll have to definitely see how well he can do in the playoffs because remember Jimmy Butler, he never made the All-Star team last year, but we saw how well he did in the playoffs, right? So I think Dame's probably going to save everything for the playoffs, and then he's going to make more of like a breakthrough that he needs. So I think I'll give him a little bit of credit. We'll see what happens when the playoffs come, and then we can start to give him more criticism. Then, for me, regular season, it's okay. When the playoffs come, that's when it matters.
Yeah, yeah. Okay, no, that's just a fair point. But yeah, ultimately to round out the point of the three-point contest, I just thought it was very competitive. Historically, the competitive nature of the three-point contest has remained consistent. So that seems to me like it is really taking over as the one event during All-Star Weekend that fans can tune into and count on for you know, consistent degree of competition, consistent degree of thrill seeking, all of that is wrapped up within the three-point competition. So I definitely don't take any issues there. And I was happy with what I saw from the three-point competition. Moving forward, though, this is where we get back into contentious territory here. Um, so the NBA, they also had the slam dunk contest. It was quite the contest. What are your thoughts on the 2024 NBA All-Star Weekend slam dunk contest?
Mm,
Thumbs down,
I
thumbs
mean,
down.
I personally, I like Matt McClung. I think Jalen Brown's a decent player too, but man, from 2016, from when Zach Levine, Aaron Gordon. I had that amazing dunk contest, the one that Aaron Gordon honestly should have won. The one
You got
that
robbed.
second that second dunk still blows my mind. I still was watching it today, and 8 years later, it still blows my mind. Yeah, in my opinion, yeah, it just wasn't that great. Not like past years, you know. I think they got to get more, like real all stars into this stuff. They got to make these guys more try. Maybe get more, maybe a little prize or something, and maybe that could definitely help them get, more, a little more exciting all star game. We got some of the Vince Carter, Dominic Wilkins versus Michael Jordan, and as I said, Aaron Gordon versus Zach Levine. We want more of those years back, but it's been a little while, and from what I've seen, it may be a little while till we get 2016 back again, you know, or at least
Mhm.
an example of 2016 to be a little more uh, exact.
Mhm. Yeah, no, I hear what you're saying. Um, Ultimately, in my view, I would say, yeah, this year's dunk off was really, it was pretty much pathetic. I mean, you know,
Yeah,
I don't even think Jaylen Brown belonged at all in the dunk off. And I can't say that I'm surprised. Like when I think of Jaylen Brown as in terms of his dunking ability, I see him as a player who is going to get those in-game dunks, but I don't really see him as a dunk contest dunker. And sure
yeah,
enough, um, that did not end well, with him as a dunk contest dunker. I just felt like there was a lack of creativity, trying to mimic Dominique Wilkins and then trying to mimic D Brown with the cover your eyes dunk, which he didn't even time it properly. His lack
yeah.
of creativity, and then also like just trying to make an unnecessary spectacle of yourself, bringing Kai Cenat out there. Kai Cenat is already like a short dude. Respectfully, he's already a short dude. And then you have him sitting in a chair, and like I guess he was live streaming. So like I
Yeah,
don't know, like
that's all right, I guess.
no, it's really not. It's just gimmicky, and it's like what are you doing, man? Like
Oh,
what?
you think it feels like
Yeah, it just it
WWE
just
or
it just it
something?
just yeah, it just feels cheap. Like he's sitting down in a chair and then you're jumping over him. It's like the fans don't really want to see that. Like you know, it's it's just like it's just like pandering basically, and
Oh, okay, that's what you're saying.
it's
Yeah.
just not really what you would like to see. In my view, like I think I think Jacob Toppin should have been in the finals with Mac McClung. Like I think Jacob Toppin's dunks
Oh,
were
you think?
better than
Yeah.
were better than Jalen Brown's dunks. But I think also too, the push was for Jalen Brown, really. Like the push was there for him to win it because the NBA is, there's the marketing aspect of it, and Jalen Brown was the biggest name. So
Hmm.
I think that airing on the side of alleged conspiracy, I do think that there was a bit of a push for him to get into the finals because some of those scores that they were giving him, it's like he didn't really earn those. Those are basic dunks, right? But ultimately, Mac McClung definitely deserved to win.
Oh yeah, no
Um,
doubt.
his performance was good. It was slightly um, less desirable than his performance from prior years. Like
Hmm.
he had like his performance from last year, what I would say is better. But nonetheless, the NBA still has a problem clearly because you're having G League players win some of your competitions that are supposed to be indicative of an all-star showcase event, you know? So I would say that that is like technically one of the problems that like that seems to consistently be happening with the dunk off.
Mhm.
Um, and yeah, they gotta get some dunkers. It's not just about getting all stars. Getting all stars is a part of it, but they gotta get some dunkers that people want to see it in there, you know? Like you could like if you could get John Morant,
Yes, that's what I
Zion,
wanted to say.
Zion Williamson,
Yep.
and then Mac McClung, like that trio will generate some buzz. You know, people will like to
Yeah.
see that as yeah in the dunk.
Fun fact: John Morant and Zion Williamson played on the same AAU team.
Hmm. Yeah, they
Yeah.
definitely did. They definitely did.
Yeah.
That's something. That's one of those fun facts from blast from the past.
Yeah. Definitely.
Um, moving forward, what are some of your thoughts about the All-Star game? Now, before you answer that question, I believe the score of the All-Star game, the final score was 211 to 186, the East having 211 and then the West having 186. So what are your thoughts, bearing that score in mind, what are your thoughts of the All-Star game that transpired this year?
You know what they need more? Defense.
Hmm.
Defense. Man, they don't.
Defense.
They need more defense in the All Star game. I understand there are a lot of threes, and believe me, Damian Lillard, he was hitting some Steph Curry like threes, but they need way more defense in this All Star game. You know, you see All Star games from the '90s, the 2000s when Michael Jordan and Kobe was playing. You know, like now it's just like there's no defense. You know, everyone's just like, you know, you see all these missed layups. Like you see Luka Doncic blowing a dunk, people
Hmm.
missing all these layups. You know, it's
Yeah.
definitely gone down. There were some good moments though. Like I thought when Trey Young went through Kevin Durant's legs though, that was actually pretty sick. I'll actually be honest, that was pretty good. You know.
Hmm.
Um, Damian Lillard, his three pointers did make it pretty good. Carl Anthony Towns, I thought he had some pretty good dunks at the end, but yeah, away from that, they need a lot more defense to definitely make that game a lot more interesting. For me, because of Trey Young, Damian Lillard, and Carl Anthony Towns, I'll give it a C minus.
Hmm.
That's my opinion. Just because I won't say it's an absolute bomb, just because there was some good plays in it, but I'll give it a C minus, just to be a little bit on the nice side. But I guarantee there's some people out there that would probably give it a D minus or maybe an F.
Hmm. Yeah, when it comes to the All-Star game, I gotta say, like, on my end, I was very disappointed. But I can't say that I was surprised. The All-Star game really serves as one of those case study examples of the general sentiment around NBA basketball amongst the players. It's just kind of the All-Star game is kind of like an exaggerated version of what happens during the regular season. So obviously the league has had a problem with defense. Like the defense has been lackluster for the past few years now.
Oh
We
yeah,
saw
definitely.
we saw an exaggerated and or exaggerated extra horrible version of that during the All-Star game. But again, that spills over because that's coming from a sentiment that we see in the regular season when we watch these teams play, that just that nonchalant, not really care about defense. And then that is, complemented. And I don't mean that in a kind way. I just mean that these things coincide with this exaggerated view of offense because so much is said about the NBA and its regular season and its players, about the offensive output, and just how allegedly how so many players are just so much more offensively talented now than they were like in previous decades. And like to a certain extent, it's true, but it's not true like the supporters might suggest, because it's clear that the lack of defense and the just the lack of playmaking is contributing to a certain degree of offensive stat padding, and you're getting these games where people are putting up outrageous numbers, but
Yeah.
these numbers are nothing really to marvel at, because it's not about the final numbers. In this case, like the scoreboard is not like the bottom line of a business, okay? In this situation, it's not about the final numbers on the bottom line of the scoreboard. What really matters is all of the effort that it took to get to that point, because that's what the fans are going to judge. And when we see this, nonchalant, mutually understood, light jog, goof around, nobody really cares that the All-Star game record was broken, because
Mm,
there was no competition attached to those points, really. It was just kind of everybody is out there. Okay, we're gonna let you do this, we're gonna let you do that, So even though a record was broken, no one was really in awe, because everyone who saw the game and the qualitative sentiment around the game is that ultimately what people are seeing to lead up to the production of those numbers, it doesn't match, right? The
yeah.
input that it took to get to that numerical output, the values are in misalignment. So you have this exaggerated final score, but everyone knows, it got that way because people just didn't put in effort. Like they were just out there allowing buckets to happen more or less. So it's just one of those records that's not really going to be looked at as a big deal for anybody who remembers the context in what it took to get there. And then the last thing I also want to kind of point out is Damian Lillard, like he obviously won All-Star Game MVP.
Totally deserved
Um,
it. 100%.
I mean, yeah, I guess because he scored the most points. Maybe they could have given it to Halliburton. Halliburton scored less points. He scored seven
Yeah.
less points on better efficiency, but it's just one of those ones where even that, again, it was just kind of funny to watch, because even though Damian Lillard um got the MVP, it's almost as though his status as the best point guard in the East is still, there's still a big question mark around that right now,
Oh yeah, definitely.
A-
Yeah.
and rightfully so.
Yeah. Um, what I'm gonna say overall, yeah, Damian Lillard, Halliburton. We'll see what happens when the playoffs comes. Um, we'll more talk about that a little, maybe closer when the playoffs come, more in March, early April. When it comes to the All Star game and defense, more defense has to be played. About defense in the NBA, I think the problem isn't with players slacking off. I think that there's so much 3-point shooting going on. Guys like Curry who can shoot from 40 feet out. You don't know what's gonna happen, right? Because so many people are shooting so many threes these days. If you get even centers are shooting threes these days. I remember at one point centers would barely shoot threes. Most centers weren't like Shaq. most of them were getting all like singles per game. But now Joel Embiid, he's leading the NBA in scoring. Nikola Jokic, he's Jokic. Oh, I keep messing that name up. He's getting a triple double every game. All these centers, Wembanyama, he's shooting a good amount of threes, and Chet Holmgren too. They're rookies too, so just imagine what happens when they get older. So
Hmm.
there's a lot of reasons why it's kind of hard to play defense. Especially because like a lot of these centers too, they're getting a lot more offensive. So there's not really that um big man. It's kind of more like protect the rim, like before.
Hmm.
You know, you have Giannis, a big guy like Giannis, who's at times maybe playing a point guard too. So it's all these little factors too. I think that kind of come into play as well too. As I said with the 3-point shooting as well, it kind of makes it hard to like decide like is a player going to shoot from three? Is a player going to is a player going to go into the key and try to score from is he going to try to score from 15 feet out, or is he going to try to score from 50 feet out? It's these factors too that have come into the league, especially ever since the Splash Brothers have kind of came into play from the early mid 2010s. You know,
Hmm.
so I think there are those factors as well too. Not saying that slacking off on defense is something that should be overlooked, but I definitely think there are a lot of those factors too. 3-pointers, more offensive centers, not really being able to protect the rim. Those factors kind of come into play as well too. I think. What's your opinion on that?
Yeah, like I think you know, many of I think it's like you can change a lot of things, when it comes to the game of basketball. You can
Yeah.
have players who focus on shooting threes. You can have players who are excellent at the mid-range. You can have
Mhm.
players who finish at the rim and do well off of dribble drive opportunities. But at the end of the day, I think one of the things that is an expected prerequisite when it comes to NBA basketball has to do with the heart, man. You know, the heart is always supposed to be located where it's supposed to be located. That's not really supposed to change. However, I think what a lot of this current generation of NBA fans are faced with is, we're looking at players who, of course, they may got they got the bag, but a lot of these players, like, they don't really have the heart, man. Like, and I have to
Yeah, I
go
think
back.
that definitely has some part to do with it as well too.
And I have to go back all the way to, Kobe Bryant's last All-Star game in Toronto,
Yep.
Ontario,
8 years ago.
2016.
Yep.
That was an incredible All-Star game to watch because that
Oh,
was the last All-Star game that I can genuinely remember as being like competitive. And obviously, like, there were All-Star games prior to 2016 that were notably competitive, but I just think that, there was a bit of a passing of the torch moment between Kobe Bryant and LeBron James. But
yeah.
the torch, but hold on though, there's a twist to what I'm saying, right? When Kobe Bryant challenged LeBron in that All-Star game, man, LeBron, like, he had the chance to take the last shot and he ended up dishing it. I think Carmelo Anthony ended up getting the ball and he ended up taking a shot and it missed. But that right there was sort of, to me anyways, that was sort of the first domino to fall in the into what we have now. So again, what I'm basically doing right now is I'm citing the origins of this contemporary problem with the All-Star game. I'm citing it back to 2016, the mid 2010s.
Hmm.
up until the mid 2020s, we're kind of seeing that trend of just like nonchalant attitude towards the All-Star game. And at the end of the day, like it's not to put all the blame on LeBron James. LeBron James is LeBron James. Like his legacy is solidified.
Hmm.
But it just saddens me that so many players seem to n follow the trend of being nonchalant. And here's the thing, the fans are not asking for a serious game from start to finish. Would it be cool if we got that? For sure. I don't think anyone would complain. But
Oh
what
yeah,
the
definitely
fans
not.
are asking for is keep the score close until the fourth quarter, and then have a serious game of pickup basketball in the fourth quarter. Like that's all you really need to do. You know what I mean? Like you don't need to do much to keep the media happy, to keep the fans happy. You don't really need to do much. It's just keep a close game for three quarters, and then once you do that, you're basically good to go.
Yeah, I agree. Definitely, definitely. Well, the scoreline from that game was 196 actually, that the West got over 173. So I mean, yeah, like competitive. There was still a lot of threes being shot in that. Obviously, Steph Curry was on that. Was still playing then too.
Like, are
You
you
know,
talking about are you talking about from this game?
from 2016, like the
Oh,
the West had 196 actually. It was quite a big score. They almost got 200 that year too. So
hmm
yeah, I think even that year too was kind of was a little bit iffy,
hmm
But I think there were times in that game you definitely saw Kobe definitely getting a lot more competitive, And I think from then on, yeah, it has dropped off a little bit, because I don't think anyone apart from maybe like Jimmy Butler kind of has that Mamba mentality, that extra
hmm
competitive mentality.
hmm
Yeah, and
Yeah,
obviously
maybe the
Butler wasn't
All-Star
around.
game, maybe the All-Star game I'm referring to, that might have been from 2013, now that I think about it. I can't I
Oh,
can't
okay,
fully
okay,
remember.
yeah,
But there was
yeah.
one where it was really close. I'll have to
What,
look
what,
into that because that was a few years ago. But like that was sort of the last one that I really remember.
yeah.
That was really close, and yeah, that one was pretty big time. But ever since then, I don't think I've really seen too much there, right? So yeah,
I heard 2003. I don't remember that one, but heard 2003 was a pretty good one because that was the last one that Michael
Michael
Jordan
Jordan was
played.
in.
Yeah.
Yeah, that one was good. Michael Jordan. Michael
Yeah.
Jordan
You
basically, if I remember correctly, like he hit uh I don't know if it was him who hit the buzzer beater, but somebody hit a buzzer beater to send it into overtime, like, which was pretty impressive. And
mhm.
then there was like a foul call or something like that. That was a long time ago, but that was
Yeah.
definitely one of those ones where you could search up the last 5 minutes of that game and you know be impressed by what you're seeing there, right? So
Mhm.
yeah.
That was I think that was actually the last All-Star game that went into overtime 21 years ago.
Hmm.
Think about that. LeBron James, that was the year he entered the league, you know.
Yeah, he
And
wasn't
that
he wasn't he wasn't in the All-Star game though
yeah,
because
not until
he,
oh
like he
05.
entered he entered in the summer of 2003, right? Because the
Yeah.
draft takes place in the summer.
Yeah.
And
It
then
was later
and then
that
he
and yeah, of course.
well the yeah, the draft was
But the
later
game happened.
that
Yeah.
year.
Game happened
Yeah,
before.
yeah,
That
yeah.
was the
Because
02
Micah,
03 season.
yeah, yeah. And then LeBron obviously getting drafted in the 03, 04 season. and then he became an all-star in 2005, right?
Oh, 4
So,
or 5.
yeah.
Yeah, yeah. That's crazy to think about it. In '03, Victor Wembanyama wasn't even born yet. I mean, that's something to like makes you really think, whoa, that's like really a long time
Hmm.
ago, you know?
Yeah,
Um,
definitely.
yeah, yeah, yeah. There's been talks online about you know, fans wanting to change the NBA format to something a lot more competitive.
Hmm. Hmm.
I've heard it's been a problem in several different sports too. I've heard NHL fans have been complaining about their All Star game too. Um, there's been some issues over there as well. So maybe it's just a money thing because if you honestly look at it, NBA players they get a lot of money. You know, um, a lot of these guys like rookies out there are getting all like $10 million a year. you know, I mean, some people are even saying just cancel like the All Star game. You know,
Hmm.
I mean, like let us sink in. Some of the three-way guys, um, like the Golden State Warriors, I have right here. They have the highest payroll for this year. They have $208 million. One of their guys who are on two-way contracts, they're making $560,000 per year in American, and they're on two-way contracts. They're
Hmm.
barely playing in the league, you know,
Hmm.
or maybe like getting some time in the league, you know. So yeah, it is
Yeah, yeah.
crazy to think, how much money these guys are getting. These guys are getting some really, really good money. I think Wembanyama's salary is like, I think, what is that? I think about, what is it? Like, I think $10 million a year or something like that,
Hmm.
And he's getting that, after not even playing 100 games in the league, you know, and that's
True,
guaranteed
true.
too. So, yeah, yeah, definitely makes you think, yeah, they're getting a lot of money, So I think, the money can change people, but as I said, maybe not all of it's money. Some of it may have to do with, as I said, the game is a lot more offensive these days. So it's definitely a lot tougher to play defense than it was, 20, 30 years ago, back in the 2000s, back in the 90s, back in the 80s.
Hmm.
So some of it does have to do with that too. It's not just full heart. Some of it, yeah, heart, but I think some of it does have to do with the offensive style of the game these days. You know,
Hmm. Hmm. So yeah, to sort of wrap it up, I figured I'd, circle back around to the Raptors a little bit and just, hey, it's Scotty Barnes. It's his first time as an All-Star. He dropped 16 points in
he
the
did.
in the East victory.
He did.
Apparently, that is the highest point total for the debut of a Raptors All-Star. So
Oh
any
wow,
Raptors All,
nice.
yeah. So that's I
Didn't know
thought that
that.
was pretty impressive. But within context, of course, because as I said previously, it's glorified layup line out there. But what are some of your thoughts on that?
I thought Scotty Barnes was all right. I thought he was, trying to play some kind of defense, but I think he kind of like saw everyone was like not really playing it, so he was like, yeah. But I kind of thought Scotty Barnes was had a decent All Star game. I thought he was like coming off the bench. I think he definitely wanted to play defense. I could definitely tell by his body language that
Mhm.
some players want to play, but I think like other players are like maybe worried about getting injury too, because you don't want to get injured during the All Star game. It's kind
No,
of a
you
bad look,
definitely don't.
right?
Exactly. It's a bad look.
Yeah, But yeah, I thought he was definitely efficient. I thought he had some. I thought he had a hell of a strong dunk. He nearly dunked on Steph Curry for one of his, but
Mhm.
Curry was a little bit out of the way, so you know that definitely helped Curry a little bit. But yeah, I thought he definitely had a good All Star game. And hopefully he'll be back. Um, he's been good this year. I'm not sure. As I said, I love the Raptors, but I'm not sure if they could have put Butler in the game over Barnes. But I think at the end of the day, they probably made the right decision, and he showed up. He went to the game and said, "You know what? I'm gonna play my heart out a little bit," and he did.
Yeah, no, he did. He did really well. Yeah, so nonetheless, I'm pleased with what I saw there. Um, with that being said, uh, I feel like that is our All-Star weekend in review. Um, Jerome and I just want to say, thank you to the fans and the supporters
Yeah,
of the
thank
It's
you guys.
Raptors Ting channel. We genuinely appreciate all of the love and support you've been showing us. This is a really small channel, but it's not going to stay small for long, and it's all because of your support. Also, with that being said, it's just one of those things to remember. Saying it's a Raptors Ting Ehh. Like, comment, and subscribe. Really helps the channel out a lot. All right.
Right there,
Peace
man.
out.